People who rarely get sick, what are your secrets? Story 1. Ever since I started sleeping early and getting 9 hours of sleep, I stopped getting sick so often. Not sure if that's it, but could be. The things I would do to be able to sleep for 9 hours. It makes sense though. When you sleep, that's when your body heals and rejuvenates itself, so it would have more time to fight off any possible sickness. I've slept badly for 90% of my life. 8 hours seems stupidly impossible. My average for the last few decades has been 5 to 6 hours, but often less. Tried everything. Thought it was impossible to get 8 hours because I'd either be too awake at night, or wake up needing the toilet, or just wake and not be able to get back to sleep. Turns out I never really implemented a very rigid sleep and exercise routine. I tried it, but only 80%, and then I'd claim it didn't work. I've just woken up from a previously unimaginable 8.5-hour sleep. It took a while for my body and brain to adjust, but here's my simple routine that I started implementing, then stopped, then started again, and both times it's been successful. Absolutely rigid bedtimes and getting up times. No deviation. Stop eating and drinking 2 hours before going to bed, so to 0.5 hours before sleep. I actually think this was the key change for me. I often ate late and my body was probably busy processing food. No caffeine after 2 p.m., no blue light emitting devices an hour before bed. In bed 30 minutes before my designated sleep time, where I can read a book, a Kindle, or write down anything on my mind into paper, basically wind down time. Get up at my designated wake time, whether I've slept well or not, and do at least 30 minutes of exercise, most days. Less Reddit and reading about negative things, especially in the evenings, but generally trying to eliminate the negatives. Story 2. Stay away from kids. As someone who works in schools, I get sick twice a year, within 30ish days of the beginning of the school year, and after winter break. So I agree entirely. LOL. Seriously. The 1 year I didn't get sick at all, except for COVID thanks to family, was during our virtual year. Story 3. If you are tired, sleep. Don't burn the candle at both ends, like the saying in Blade Runner. A light that burns twice as bright burns half as long. And you have burned so very brightly, Roy. I knew someone who always went to bed early on Tuesday night. She never committed to anything else on that night. That way she always knew she was getting a good night's sleep in the middle of the week. I always thought that was wise. Story 4. Teacher here. I used to spend all of my sick and personal days on being sick each year. It was exhausting. Didn't matter how much I washed my hands, what grade level I taught, etc. Started wearing a mask during COVID mandates, and it was the first year in my career I didn't get sick. I wear a mask in my classroom every day now, and it's been for years since I've gotten sick from students. My quality of life has gone up substantially now that I don't have to spend weeks with a lingering cold every school year. Story 5. I have always been like this, so likely genetics. However, there was a period of time when I absolutely despised my day's horrible internship, and in those 3 weeks, I have fallen ill several times. Stress can really fuck up your immune system. Stress is a killer, impacts everything from sleep, mood, mental health, nervous system, anxiety, depression, cardiovascular, headaches, digestive system, immune system, etc. I'd say it's one of the biggest health problems everyone shares. Story 6. I had always heard that multivitamins were a waste of money, but a few years ago I decided to start taking one anyway for the hell of it. I was also a little bit low in my blood work in vitamin D, so I started taking a low-dose daily vitamin D supplement. It could be entirely coincidental, but ever since I started doing that I get about 80% fewer illnesses. I used to get about 5 major colds per year. Now it is surprising if I even get one. Also, I get an annual influenza vaccine, and I've only caught influenza and tested positive for it once in about 25 years of being vaccinated. Story 7. I used to get sick all the time. At least 3 to 4 illnesses each year, more when I traveled by plane or train. And then I began masking with N95s in indoor spaces. During the early days of COVID, I realized I wasn't catching everything like I used to. Heck, I always got sick after travel. Now I don't. It's effing fantastic. I also stopped eating indoors at restaurants after lockdown. I realized I get overwhelmed in restaurants and don't enjoy my time in them. Lights, smells, noises, all the people. It's exhausting. I totally do outdoor dining. It's not as draining as indoor. I know there are a crazy number of opinions on masks. I'm not going to argue with anyone about them. What I do know, they work for me and have made my quality of life infinitely better. Story 8. I wish I learned this before COVID, but wear a mask in public. I used to get colds twice a year like clockwork, one in the spring, another in winter. Colds with a nagging cough that wouldn't go away for weeks after. COVID happens, I mask up, get no colds for 2 years. I've learned you're all a bunch of germy bastards, and continue to mask and gladly accept the scorn from 80-year-olds who will be dead shortly anyhow. Story 9. I'm considered obese. I don't get enough sleep. I don't eat particularly healthy. However, I hardly ever get sick. As a kid, I got one cold a year between April and May. I got the stomach flu once. As an adult, I don't even get a cold yearly. I only had COVID twice in 4 years, and my symptoms were incredibly mild. I have no secrets except wash your hands and avoid too much sanitizer. Story 10. I no longer have health insurance, so I decided I am no longer getting sick. When I feel myself getting sick, I just say sickness be gone. Chris Traeger, looking into mirror, stop pooping. I was on a fishing charter recently and got seasick instantly. After like 45 minutes of vomiting and finally nothing was coming up, I dry heaved for always felt like 90 seconds and just yelled out loud, "There's nothing left." Everyone else on the boat was sick too, so no one left. Story 11. One secret I swear by is staying active and drinking plenty of water. And sleeping, getting a solid sleep on top of being active and drinking water. It's the trifecta, and eating relatively healthy most of the time. I had a run of a few years without getting ill, let my sleep and diet slip a bit, and was ill on and off for months. Stay away from children. You can sleep 8 hours a night, eat as healthy as possible, and stay perfectly hydrated at all times. But if you have any sea urchins around you, you're gonna get sick more often. Story 12. Genetics. This should be higher. This is more than half the battle. Genetics plus early years nutrition, immunity building, etc. Genetics is the answer to basically everything. Long life, genetics. Good skin, genetics. Slim body, genetics. Thick voluminous hair, genetics. Youthful look as you age, genetics. Got pregnant and have no stretch marks, genetics. It's actually so frustrating seeing people with good genetics give advice when it's so obvious that nothing they did gave them that result. It was just good genetics. Story 13. Wash hands, no kids, healthy diet, exercise, outside time. I don't wash my hands very much just to keep my immunity sharp. I fight being a germaphobe. I'm not afraid of door handles and railings. I will eat the leftovers that are questionable in about 15 minutes when you went to far LOL. I don't want to go through life fearing touching stuff. I don't get sick very often. Who knows? Story 14. Eat healthy. Exercise. Get enough sleep. Body will just pummel sickness. That's one way to put it. Story 15. Don't touch your face, rub your eyes, etc. unless your hands are freshly washed. I learned it from a movie that we all touch our faces an average of 16 times every waking hour, often unconsciously, and that the best advice is just to wash your hands a lot. Story 16. I barely leave the house. No cramp people soup. I always chuckle when people get sick, and they're like, "Ike, how I got sick." I only went to a concert, the bar, and one orgy this weekend. Same. I've been remote at my job since March 2020, get everything delivered, and avoid people as much as possible. I never got COVID, haven't had a cold in over 4 years. Story 17. I ate rocks as a child. My mom told me she just let me eat dirt as a kid hoping it would help my immune system. It seems to have worked lol. If he dies, your mom. My coworker was complaining to a doctor one day about how her kids are always sick. The doctor said, "You need to throw your kids into the dirt, because it helps test and build your immune system."